So this is episode 4. I changed the name to Lightgate, since it's a better name. I'm trying to write some code in this episode, which generally works out just fine. Honestly, it's not like the cartoon at all. Promise you, it's nothing like that at all. The stuff I write generally works. Honestly. So welcome to episode 4 of what is now the Lightgate development blog. This background we'll come back to later. This is just a bit of noise. I put a bit of symmetry down the middle and you get something like a face, quite a common pattern that I use. I gave it to my daughter who's studying visual effects graphics design for games, and she's kind of turning it into a character. So just using layers and Photoshop here. She's more modern, I use PaintShop Pro, she uses Photoshop, but that's fair enough. This thing is something that was a personal stilts dancing in a hotel, a party. I thought, well, maybe I can borrow that kind of design, so Sophia's done some drawings here. I've negatived that image, stuck it in front of an archway, put it on that background, and when it's in the 3D sort of RPG conversation or fight mode, throwing light to and from it, this should be like the getting through the gateways between parts of the game, basically. So that should be cool. But the main gameplay will be like a 2.5D maze, which is essentially where you're walking around like you do in Undertale. It's essentially flat. You can go up, but you can go behind things, so it's kind of not full 3D. So you've got a full 3D mode of play for RPG interaction, and you've got like a 2.5D mode of play. You've got cutscenes and mini games. So we'll look at where this is coming from. Amazingest game I released a year ago, and that has 2.5D in it. So we'll have a clip of that in a minute. But for the meantime, I take that as a donor because I don't reinvent the wheel as much as possible. So I'm using 2 games within this video as a start point. Amazing as a main donor for Lightgate, and also the Haunted Tower Hotel, which I did in about 2021. And is a puzzle game with save load, some cutscenes in it, intros, outros, and puzzles, etc. And they're very similar inside because they're all from the same origin. I've just deleted the music that I don't need. I forgot to open my favourite editor on RISC OS Raspberry Pi here, running RISC OS Direct on the Raspberry Pi, which is strong ed. Now these library files that you can vaguely see here are now at the bottom of the screen: Kit Core, Kit Tiles, Kit Sound. Also run on Windows, Linux and Android. So I've got like a shim layer, but I start here because, well, it's just very quiet. There's no updates, there's no like pings from like notifications. I can just go away and be quiet and be creative, which I like. I also have constraints, which helps me be creative. I always find limits the best way to be creative. Now my friend Sim from university, I've been doing music on and off for 30 years. He should hopefully be coming to the studio. I've got a couple of weeks and we're going to do some music together, hopefully, for this project. My daughter Sophia, who's been 18 this year actually, and studying games, animation and visual effects, she has already started doing sort of drawings and designs for me. Now this is amazing, and you can see he's standing behind the wall. Now the game Lightgate won't look like this, but essentially the same 8-way scrolling mechanism, object interaction will work. Now this, looking suspiciously similar to screen layout, you can see Bodkin on the right there chatting away. You've got conversation options with him, but it's all in one screen in Haunted Tower Hotel. The screen we saw earlier with the little character standing in the archway, that's where that conversation would happen. Anyway, so I'm just doing a quick search to replacing the amazing directory with the Lightgate directory through the whole file. And there we go. I always have a screen dump function, you may have noticed at the end there. People can steal if they want. So using my captures for cover, etc. Anyway, so I'm going to do what I'm going to do now. Probably update the library files, but I can't remember. because it's easier for me to record this and talk over it rather than trying to do two things at once. So in Wizard Law, why am I looking in there? Oh yeah, I'm getting the library files like I thought I was. So I'm getting updating the libraries because I've got new features that I need, including 3D routines, etc. Because when I do the next release of my development kit, which I also sell this free updates for, this is going to have like a 3D game example in it. So I'm making some more notes. The Dota game, I always like to recall where it came from. That's generally helpful. And yes, and the Haunted Tower Hotel is going to come in. Because that's going to supply the save load cutscenes and the puzzle logic. But otherwise you'll see in a few minutes these things are suspiciously similar. And I make some typical design notes. So as I was saying, you're going to have multiple modes of play. So you've got the cutscenes, which I'm putting some code in this video for that, which is stolen or taken from the Haunted Tower Hotel. Fortunately, unlike the intro cartoon, most of the time things just work, but when bugs happen they're usually very entertaining in terms of what goes wrong. Maybe one day I'll do a video of strange and entertaining bugs. Anyway, yeah, I've got 3D play, and I've got like a little game I'll show you later, which might find its way into the development kit. We'll have to see. And yeah, it's going to have the RPG conversations bit. Rather than being on the right hand side, it'll be in that screen. Because that's how it's done on Undertale, and although it doesn't have a full conversation model, I'm going to do that because it makes it more flexible from my point of view. And mini-games, I want to have like maybe pixel art style single screen mini-games which you can nip into to get objects or to achieve certain goals. And as they've got basically multiple modes of play, much more fun than having one mode of play. Now, I haven't done mini-games before, so that should be good. I have pizza on the mind, I think. Puzzles. Yes, puzzles. Yeah, I've got like this a whole load of puzzles worked out which are themed around the grid. In fact, the idea of the grid, which of course is a bit of a Tron reference really. You're sort of moving around, stuck in this world you've been sucked into from this. Apparently, this tape has had this other dimension, energy absorbed into it, which is you to listen to and got sucked into. Watch episode 1 if you want to know the backstory to what Lightgate is all about. Escape to Light is effectively a working title. And I'm typically going through the code, trying to work out whether anything applies or doesn't apply. I've got to rewrite the intro screen text. I don't know. I'll keep that similar style, or I might change it if I feel like it. Scrolling down, reading through it, looking for things that don't seem to be relevant. First thing that's obvious is we don't have levels in Lightgate. Lightgate is going to be, a play to the end. Or you have multiple ways to play it, not just one path necessarily. So I've got to delete that. We haven't got level 1 to 8 here, like we do in Amazing. So we'll get rid of it. And I need to get the code to loading from the Haunted Tower Hotel, and thus avoiding reinventing the wheel, which is how I manage to do typically about 2 or 3 games a year. Although I've got things running in parallel, bigger projects like this sit there for a long time while I'm trying to do design. Sometimes it's code, and most often than not it's coming up with graphics, music and design that takes the time. Actually writing the code is comparatively easy. So I'm going to look for the hotel thing, the Haunted Tower Hotel, which takes me a moment to see it, even though it's right in the middle of the screen. I do seem to be unable to see what's in front of me sometimes, regularly. So holding down the shift key, which I forgot to do. If I hold down the shift key it doesn't start it, but it goes inside the directory. And I can then make a comparison. So open up the run image and you shall see a very similar bit of code. Surprisingly similar. Not identical, but certainly very similar. This means for me reusing bits of logic, mixing and matching is comparatively easy. So see on the left it has a slideshow, which is like an intro, but I'm going to use that for cutscenes, that kind of logic, and parameterize it so you can provide different slide decks to it. And then that gives us either animation opportunities, limited animation, or just storytelling. So I'm just trying to think, how do I put these two things together when it still makes sense? When I look at the code, you can see similarity. The IXIY is actually the grid position for the character in the map. So I have a default location and I have an overriding character. So the comments are even the same. So Amazing was probably developed out of the, get my lineage right, out of the Haunted Tower Hotel. So the Haunted Tower Hotel was the origin game for Amazing, the donor game. I believe that's correct. And for some reason I have two random map comments in a second, but again it's because I'm probably thinking and not reading. So it sounds like I have a bit of a stutter. Random map position or something. Anyway. Now note, yeah, all it's very similar, except there's some routines which are present, which I deleted for Amazing, and I'm going to reinstate them. Some of them anyway, not all of them apply. So this slideshow, I'm going to genericize it because it's not a very complicated thing. It just puts a load of images on the screen, sprites basically, using the development kit. And I think some of these are slightly out of date because I don't need to use fading color 720p. It just works. No, I'd fix that anyway. Something I'm going to have to tidy up. I try and avoid technical debt where I can, since once you start incurring debt in your code, that's things you haven't fixed yet, which you should fix. You kind of accumulate them, so you need to keep paying it down so you don't get laden with debt. I'm trying to work out whether I have music in the cutscenes. Probably, but I might. Again, in this game, I think I'm going to have music. So when you go in the fight mode, RPG mode, it'll probably introduce music just for fighting. There'll be in-game play music and mini-game music, which makes it more like it is in a lot of modern games. Rather than just having a jukebox, you have a cycling through tracks. You'll actually play music relevant to each part of the game. So yeah, I'm just saying how many slides and having a route thing, not referenced anywhere yet. I build up the tooling and then later on I'll introduce it incrementally and just make it work. Which isn't too hard because the basic mechanisms work. I'm probably going to even keep the tile sizes the same for the 2.5D. It potentially just makes it easier. And I'm not bothering trying to work out what that second function is, but it's just another slideshow. Just that I haven't got a generic intro and end. I may even have the slideshows timed rather than, pressing a key to go between them. And again, you'll see I've got some other code, similar on the right. Scroll in it. What this is where you've got the bit of text. You may remember it had A, B or C. You could choose to talk to the different characters like Bodkin. So you've got scroll in it, etc. So at some point I'm going to shove this, carefully copy it and put this into the other game. So you've got choice of choosing A, B or C to talk to the character. For time I'll probably keep that exactly the same initially. If I change it, I'll change it later. So that should work fairly well, I think. And this is read out of a file. We should see that shortly. So I've got into 3D RPG view. I'm making notes to remind me what I'm doing with this in the code. It's kind of just easy to have it there. There'll be other buttons in that. You'll have things like something like this. You've got fighting. If you want to use to fight them to get past them, you can talk to them. Maybe you can persuade them. Maybe you like do some mercy to them or exit. You may not be able to do that if they decide they don't want to let you go. You might have to stay and fight them if they don't want to let you go, basically. So yeah, but that's something which would evolve. And there'll be some random and specific elements there, typical RPG, roll dice, make decisions, and so on. So yeah, I can see what I've got, what I haven't got. This is to do with placing objects in and out of the map, or changing objects from one thing into another. This routine is used to put things... I have this generic array for all the enemy characters and things you collect, and things that have animation. I have momentum with it, that's what the XM is for, it's momentum. XY's position type is a type, so I'm keeping that for that, but actually it applies. I need to delete dead comments. I don't know if I think I do that here. I think I just do things as and when and try and build things up and shape it and mould it. So that's the game. Some things apply, some things don't. Let's see what else we have here. Do if command that's related to the little programs for the characters which you encounter, which I've seemed to have failed to notice the object adds what I just had on screen, but there we are. I'm a bit silly sometimes. Just sort of bang my head on the screen generally like the intro cartoon. That would be too expensive, really. And generally the code works. I've been doing this stuff frighteningly for 40 years now. It's way too long probably. So yeah, do if command means you can act on what you're holding, and then I have this book that's modelled. There were these books you have when I was a child, they're still around maybe, where you can choose which page to go through based on a choice you make. You have all these commands here like go, kill, exit, take. Probably won't do kill. Kill will probably trigger fighting, I should think. Because, you know, sudden death here probably is a bit rubbish. And I'll just demonstrate here the Bodkin character we saw earlier. This is his program. This is the kind of thing. This is the kind of conversations we have. We can go to page 2, go 2 there, go 2, and in there, go 6, go 4, go 3, or you can do actions. So very simple kind of like formatted structure which I've designed, which I'm going to reuse because there's no point in reinventing it if it already exists and it's approximately what I want. It means I have less code to maintain. So going through all kinds of game variables here with your dead, etc. Draw scroll, draw image. This is stuff on the right hand side. We can draw what you're holding. You can trigger them to talk and so on. Some of it is most likely applicable, some of it's not. You probably want to pick up and examine things that you've got. So I probably do need that. So I'm going to copy that out so I can use it if it works. Again, what I normally do is get something working and I then alter it. So I work on the basis of rapid prototyping. I introduce routines and I adjust them, delete them, replace them once I've got something working. That's much faster than trying to do something as a big bang approach. It all has to be written, then fix it, or design something entirely new. So in the game here, I'm taking the fact I need to initialize these routines if I'm going to use them later. Kind of sets everything up. Now there's a difference here in my main loop. We'll see in a second. So in the Haunted Tower Hotel and Amazing, there's a difference. The Haunted Tower Hotel is a top-down view game. So you draw the background and then you draw the objects on top. And Amazing, you've got to draw them both together since the objects can be behind the maze walls. So I was reviewing what's there, deciding what applies. Deciding these things where we drop things to the robots doesn't apply. Because clearly, you know, the characters aren't going to drop bonuses for you in Lightgate. They do it Amazing, they drop energy and they drop things you can use. And there's a plot excuse for that. So we've got like proc draw objects, we've got proc draw level draws the objects as well. It says objects are drawn as part of the level loop. That's so they can be behind the walls, which you can't do if it's just a straight top-down view. You just draw them over the top. I've got my game library function proc tiles draw subrange EX. That's so I can do an 8-way scrolling. I just draw a little bit of it. I overdraw it off the edges of the screen, and then I keep scrolling and just always overdraw it. But the difference, the other one is I'm doing proc draw level, which is a different routine. Hence I've highlighted just to show it to you. And you'll see there's an awful lot of similarity in this because Haunted Tower Hotel was donated to Amazing, which is now donated to Lightgate. It's all a bit incestuous really, but there we are. That makes it a lot easier. And I keep everything in the same place, tend to keep everything having the same names. So there's always proc player, always proc game these days if I can do it. Then I can read any one of the games and they're all pretty much the same. I don't need to work out, oh, I'm in this game, how on earth did I make this work? Because everything's the same, pretty much. If it's a 3D game, it has a different core set of routines, but they can be similar, where they're possibly similar. But I think the car game 3D Turbo Boost is very different compared to this. So we're going to have a quick look at the development kit update. There's like some 3D routines I'm putting into the library, and we've got 3D game here, 3D moon-based attack, which is just in development. It uses those routines as a simple example. I want to take the firing of light that we're seeing here and put it in the fight mode, because that could be quite cool in the where we got the like character standing in the gate that we saw earlier. We have the conversations in that as a part of the RPG mode. We'll have a quick look at the 3D routines here. When I keep searching for 3D until I actually find them, which helps. So we've got draw level, which just renders all the objects present. Simple sort of painter's algorithm style with depth. We've got routines to move it around. So it simplifies the calling code. So the idea is that then makes development of Lightgate quite a bit easier here. And this should be cross-platform portable. It should just work. It's very simple code, really. That's something I'm making available in the kit for other people to use. The other thing is we're going to have like these single-screen minigames, probably with a cool background, so transparency. This is just an example, like a worked example about like a case study. I think there's about 5 steps to it. It's an inverse Pac-Man where you drop the lights to banish the ghosts. So a different idea, partly inspired by The Exorcist on the Commodore Plus 4, but obviously looks very, very different to that game, where you lit the walls up, I believe, if I remember rightly. I used to play that around my neighbour's house when I was young. Anyway, it's a very, very small amount of code using the game kit routines. Now, I thought of some other games as well, not just that particular simple one. But I'm trying to reuse what I can. So if I have a maze game where you're going to collect some batteries for your torch or some food or something, then I can stick it in here, and that should be fun. So go through like a kaleidoscope view, which I had in the previous episode, I think. So you have a kaleidoscope view of a grid and end up in this like mini game. It's a pixel version of yourself, or maybe like a pulsating heart, like you have in Undertale or some other games, something like that, depending what works. Anyway, I'm reusing that to make life easy. Now we're coming to the end of this video in a moment, but just a very quick look before we end. The episode 4 of the Escape to the Light and A Lightgate development blog. The game kit actually normally looks like this, a bit tidy. You've got these 4 games here. You've got worked examples. I'm adding some more, including parallel scrolling, for example. So yeah, that's it for this episode. Hope to see you in the next one, which will be very soon. Thanks for watching.